Okay. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the Business Application Summit. Thank you for joining us here this morning to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk to our panel of FastTrack Recognized Solution Architectures for the finance and operations space. So before we jump right in, who here is familiar with FastTrack? At least half. It's not a bad start. By next year, hopefully everybody will be familiar with FastTrack. What I want to talk about is just really brief what the FastTrack program is and where it comes from. So FastTrack is an investment by Microsoft, by the product groups, in our customers and partners' success. Right? So the FastTrack team is a group of architects that are part of the product group organization, the people that build the product. And what we do, we have teams of folks all around the world, and we go out and we actually engage with customers that are implementing finance and operations and the partners that are helping them to ensure successful customer outcomes. So there's a variety of ways that we engage. So if you're in a project that has FastTrack services, we'll run a series of workshops, starting with a solution blueprint review, to understand your plan and where you can use guidance, where we can bring information from engineering to help you succeed in your implementation. So we'll do these blueprint review workshops. We'll drill down, deep dive into specific tasks and things to help you de-risk, use best practices, and those sorts of things. In addition to that, we do a bunch of other programs. We do outreach. We do things like tech talks. If you've seen FastTrack tech talks, those kinds of things are actually organized, coordinated, and sometimes delivered by our teams. So that's all I'm going to say on the FastTrack team for now. If you're more interested in FastTrack, you can see me after the presentation, or there's a FastTrack booth down in the expo that you can stop by and find out more about our team. The really important thing about FastTrack in the context of this presentation is the FastTrack team is the team that's actually working with our architects from the partners to bring them into the FastTrack Recognized Solution Architecture program. And James said a little bit about this during the keynote, but I'll just say a little bit more. The purpose of this program is to identify those individuals that are out working with customers and making a difference in terms of delivering quality solutions that make appropriate use of the platform and technologies that Microsoft is putting forward, that are driving best practices in their implementations, and ultimately contributing to the success of their customers, right? Those are good things for the customers. Ultimately, those are good things for the partner organizations, and they're, by proxy, good things for Microsoft. So we really appreciate those people. And what this program is about is recognizing them so that we'll have more people that act in that way, and we can build that community of architects that participate in Dynamics products across the board. Right? So we go out and we recognize those folks. We put them through a vetting process to identify the best of the best, allow them to publicly recognize themselves. We recognize them. They can recognize themselves with badging and things like that. And that gives customers an idea of who they're dealing with when they sign up for projects to do an implementation. Ideally, they will drive their business towards the folks that are going to be able to best help them. So we look forward to, we've got a great start for the program right now. We look forward to expanding this program over the coming years. So what I'd like to do is introduce to you today our FastTrack Recognized Solution Architects. So we have Hertjan van der Linden, right? I'm gonna just tell you who's here, then we'll go down the road and we'll have each one kind of introduce, and you're here, all present. Each one introduce himself, talk a little bit about their organization. So we have Hertjan, we have Tobias Lang, and we have Yogesh Kasad. So guys, first of all, let me just start by saying thank you for everything that you have been doing for our customers, for the product and the platform, certainly with D365, but each one of you have been a part of this platform for a long time, even before it came to the cloud. So thank you for doing that. So why don't we just go down the road, and if you can just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you do in your organization.
Yeah, sure. So hello, guys. It's very nice to see so many people here. My name is Tobias Lang. I'm the Chief Solution Architect at a system integrator called Acando. And we operate in the northern part of Europe. We have our head office in Stockholm, Sweden, which is the place where I'm situated. And most of you probably haven't heard about Acando, but we recently got purchased by a big system integrator called CGI. So I recently got 77,000 new colleagues. So that's pretty amazing. I've been working in the Dynamics 365 domain for approximately 12 years. Started as an application consultant within the trade and logistic area, and then transitioned to becoming a solution architect. I'm 38 years old. I have a wife and 3 children.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys.
Hi, this is Yogesh Kasar. I'm one of the principal architects at Real Dynamics. We are based out of Orange County, California, and primarily focused on F&O. Personally, my whole career has been vested in Microsoft technologies, and since I graduated out of college, been working on different Navision and then Dynamics F&O. I'm really glad being here, and thank you to a lot of folks I see recognized here. We worked together at some point, or many of the customers I see as well that have helped in this journey. I've worked with Microsoft on a couple of their larger implementations within Microsoft, and worked with other part of the world in Japan, EMEA, and here with different customers on those global implementations. The key thing that has been a game changer in last couple of years is introduction of FastTrack. So far, prior to that, as a partner, life had been like, you have a wooden sword and you're going in the field to fight that battle. But with FastTrack, you have a lot better support from Microsoft on things that to make you successful, make customers successful. So really thankful.
Now it's like a wooden sword with a shield.
Yeah, not a shield.
Yeah. And coming back, so I'm based out of SoCal. The reason I moved there was, of course, weather, and I love biking, mountain biking and stuff. And I have a son, of course, wife, a son, and a daughter. And
Thanks, Shreyas.
thank you.
Gert-Jan.
Yes, good morning. Good morning still, everyone. I'm Gertje van der Linden. I work as a principal solution architect in the Global Center of Excellence at Avanade. And we are a global center of excellence supporting all our regional implementation teams around the world on Dynamics 365 implementations. My focus is on finance and operations purely. Has been since 2007. 2006 at college, I decided to never do something with ERP. So 2007 it happened, and I was never able to get away from it. And in our Center of Excellence, we work very closely together with the FastTrack team, the FastTrack leadership team, to ensure that on all the projects we have as Avanade, that we deliver the same good quality, work together, provide feedback, because FastTrack team is also a very good way and a channel for us as partners to provide feedback on what we learn, what we hear in the field, and so on. So it's really valuable to be there, and it's a great honor to be recognized for the work. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. My wife and 2 children think differently about that, so I have them as well. But they're still in the Netherlands where I live. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so you guys have met the stars of the show. I'll let you, why am I here? So I'm Paul Langowski. I'm actually a part of the FastTrack team. So I'm a solution architect. As part of my duties, they asked me to coordinate our teams of folks around the world. So I'm just happy to know these guys. I'm happy they're out there. They're working for our customers. I'm excited that you guys are all here, and I hope we have a mix of customers and partners. But let's see what we have. Who are our customers in the room today? Okay. And who are our partners? And who are our partner solution architects? Good. So what my hope is that there'll be more of you up here next year, right? So this is an ongoing program. One of the ways to get there is by, because it is the FastTrack Recognized Solution Architect, is working with our team. So you want to be on a project that includes a FastTrack architect, and then work closely with that architect, because we're looking for folks that, once again, we can see demonstrating value in leadership and providing good outcomes for our customers. So hopefully there'll be more of you in the program next year. So the way this session is going to work, it's really about kind of understanding what these folks are doing and kind of how they're thinking about the product. We're going to have some time at the end for you to ask questions. In case no one showed up, Shantanu made me come up with some questions, so I'm going to ask some questions first. We'll go through that, and then we'll open it up to questions from the floor. So let's start out with a big topic recently, one version. How is one version impacting your customer base?
Fundamentally, I would say it affects all customers, obviously. It's a change of mindset that needs to happen both at the system integrator part, but also at the customer side. I mean, going from these high-cost upgrades that in many cases the customer only did when it hurts too much to continue with your current operations, into small recurring updates on a almost monthly basis. Latest information is that 8 updates a year. I mean, so fundamentally, it's about educating and planning for this already from the beginning of the project. So looking at our implementation project, I mean, going on deploying all the updates is already planned as a natural part of the implementation project. From the date where the customer purchased the subscription licenses, all the way to go live of the first legal entity, we're planning to deploy all the updates across all non-production environments, just to ensure that we can capitalize on the innovation from Microsoft, but also ensure that we get all the critical hotfixes installed in the environments. So I mean, as long as that's a natural part of the project, and you educate the customer, and you have the lead developers and the technical architects working together to ensure that it's a smooth and coordinated process along the implementation project. I mean, it could run smooth, definitely. And I mean, going on from implementation to operation phase, typically what we do, we sit down with the customer and together create the plan for servicing based on their actual needs.
Great.
Yeah.
So one version is definitely the most exciting time. Looking at the customers we work with who are still on 2009 or 2012 and different prior releases, especially when I look at some of my customers who are kind of stuck on the version they are on, it's every time, based on the business need, they keep doing great investments to make life better for their users. But every month they release new things, or as they build new features, they incur the debt towards their future upgrade. Because more you build, you're creating your upgrade path even more complex, right? From that perspective, having on one version and then being on that cadence, and also having ways to not jump into the lanes Microsoft is driving in, really helps customers keep innovating things and still not having to do the upgrades, very expensive upgrades every few years. And that's, in the field, it's really challenging when you have a customer who suffered from their initial implementation, or they just got stabilized, they spent a lot of money on ERP. Nobody wants to spend that kind of money. And then by the time they had just started realizing the value of the platform. We are talking about, oh, there is another new toy out there. Do you want to try? And they're like, just get out of here. so that's where we need to. We have been seeing a lot of those customers are very excited to call this as a final upgrade and move on from this upgrading very often. There is one-time investment which I'll speak about, which you need to make in terms of making sure you bring your code in a way that you don't have to touch it again. So we have like customers in 3 different buckets, if you will. Customers who went from 2012 to 7.1 or 2, and they are moving to one version. Their journey was a little different than the customers who were new and directly went on 7.1 or 2, and then them moving to one version. Their journey was a lot easier because they are already done the homework. While when customers from 2012 or prior releases, they came with some baggage of prior things in terms of overlaying, and those were sitting there, and it was like, okay, we'll bite that bullet at a later point. And there are still a lot of, at least a couple of our customers who are in process of going to 7 point some version. They're like, for now, we just need to get to P365. We'll deal with the extensions later. But the point is, we are already seeing the difference between the one who are relatively new or who are already adapting. Upgrade or update is becoming way, way smoother journey, smoother experience for them than the folks who have been in mindset or who has the lot of investment or debt in that perspective in other overlaying and customization.
Yeah, what I would like to add, because many things I said there, is the importance of the testing on the one version. Indeed, it was sometimes in the beginning a challenge to get to that one version, but then you can really start seeing the benefit. But keeping up with the cadence of installing the new updates, being able to innovate fast is really putting a focus on get that testing, that automated testing as part of an integrated process from the very first moment you start implementing. Don't think about it as something that you have to do in addition to all the other things. Think about it from the very first moment. Like you said, think about one version from the very first moment that you start in your design, in your architecture, how you design your integrations, ensuring that you can test your integrations as well, but also the way you document, record your processes, and then use RSAT, for example, to be able to test those processes throughout the life cycle. And we see great value. We did automated testing with other tools previously at Avanade, but we see great value of the introduction of RSAT there on being able to test and keep the people up to speed with the latest versions.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we saw a lot of customers that were on the 7.1, 7.2, 7.3 going to one version, and they were a bit surprised because there was no regression test for most of these customers. In my experience, going back to 2012 and beyond, people didn't invest in that. And so now with one version, having a regression test capability, as you mentioned, is key, right?
Yeah, and it is the additional effort that you have to do can be small if you start with it in the right moment. We use it within Avanade as a handover between our consultants to the key users. So already a process where we explain how a process works, we make those initial recordings. We hand them over, the key users extend that information, enrich it, and already by only doing that, it's just adding the variables, adding the additional information there, and you have automated tests ready. So start from the beginning. Start when you start the analysis phase already with this kind of things. Use it as a standard tool, and then the impact is way smaller. Of course, at this moment, people have to speed up and get up to speed with the tooling, so that might take some more time. But it's just, for us, it's mandatory in all the projects now.
Are you guys seeing similar things? Are you baking regression testing into the base plan for your implementation?
Yeah, sure. I mean, continuous updates is still fairly new concept. I mean, but looking forward, automated regression testing is fundamental. I mean, that's the only way to go, as I see it. And I mean, we're investing heavily in RSET tool, and we see great value of that going forward. We still see some customers struggling with setting up the different components. I mean, you need to have LCS, you need to have your BPM with a business process modeling up and running. You need to have your Azure DevOps project and have created your test suite where you need to have this test manager license and installing the test client for RSET. But I mean, still, I think Microsoft is definitely on the right path here, and I think also the process and way of working is going to be a lot easier going forward.
Cool.
Yeah.
Again, going back to, had it been there like 5 years ago, like a lot of customers I've worked with, they had to specifically invest in the whole infrastructure of automation tests, like right from the third-party tools for automating test case. Every release, they were making, say, there was a release every month for the new feature. There was equal amount of energy spent in keeping the automated tests up to date based on the things, because it was third-party kind of add-ons and things they had to use. And every upgrade, the biggest portion of upgrade was, of course, automation testing, like redoing all of that, because navigation and all of that had changed. And now having it part of natively in the Dynamics toolset is great value add for those customers. It's for the customers who are already matured in that perspective, they're like, this is great. We don't have to spend time on all these different scripts and then having so many developers just to write the automation scripts. It is great value for the customers who didn't have those because they didn't have capacity to invest in those. Now for them, those tools are right there. They're anyway working on task recorder in different fashion for like documenting their steps. The key thing as a partner, what we have to help them is how do you structure all those different test suites, help them define those different things. Oh, you have these, let's break these into like 3 roles so that you can create those as 3 different test cases and then hand off from between the different test cases. And tool is right now, strategically, it's great starting point right now. Of course, there will be new enhancements in the tool which will support like more things that are not supported in task recorder. But fundamentally, it is great direction, and which goes hand in hand with the one version concept, because we can't be asking customers for update so many times, like twice a year, and have, hey, I need army of people to do the testing because we are doing this update. Having those investments, it's just more of right planning upfront along with the implementation, and you can set up the environment in a way that there can be a lot more testing that can be done automated way through RSAT than having to deal with a lot of those test cases every time there is update you need.
Cool. So you guys threw out a term a minute ago, overlayering, right? So as part of this move to one version, an evergreen application, part of that big transition was moving away from allowing people to overlay. So if you're not familiar with that term, if customers 2009, 2012, that, and even early versions of the cloud, where it used to be, if you didn't like the way our software worked, you just Control-G, start coding, right? Wipe out whatever you want, do whatever you're going to do, right? And people made good use of that capability. Actually, ample use of that capability. So in the cloud version, in a SaaS version, we've changed that dynamic, and we've said it's not overlaying anymore. You can still do a lot of stuff, but you got to actually move to an extensibility model. So Herchan, as a solution architect and an implementer, how has that changed your approach to gap solutions? How has it fundamentally, altered the way you think about implementing a project?
Yes, I think it did change. And as soon as we knew that overlaying would be something of the past, already with the introduction of AX7, what we did, what Avannath was saying, from now on we only do extensions. And only if you have very good reasons that something is not possible, then we might consider overlaying, but always together with the technical architect discussing, are there really no alternatives? And it requires sometimes a mind change, a mindset that needs to be changed with developers as well. At first, it seems to be more difficult, and of course, if you just had to write a very simple insert method or whatever, it's faster to do overlaying. But when you start thinking about it, it's really giving added value, of course, because of the maintainability, the updatability, but also the code quality. The chance to have any bugs or issues is just smaller if you do it right. And sometimes we have nowadays to tell a customer, it's not possible. And that's not something which is a problem. It's something that there is a reason, and often that's one of the things you discuss with FastTrack, of course, is, hey, what is the reason that we might not make this change? And we always try to stay away from changing the financial engines, the inventory engines, because they have been developed in a certain way and you should use them as much as possible. So it's always as a partner also a challenge for us to think about how can we make the extension required, should we make it here, and then how to apply. But it was really a mindset change, and now we have the mindset, we have all the projects we have worldwide running with hardly any overlaying left, some pending issues with Microsoft, but mostly it's just about that mindset. And
where the conversation in 2012 used to be, you shouldn't do that. Now it's, you can't do that. We're not going to do that, right?
It's a complete different architecture now, yeah.
We can ask Microsoft for an extension point. They're going to say no, right? Because it's not a good idea. So I think that
and that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's always thinking about, should we extend something? I'm not afraid of customizing. That's always good, but only, it's good if there's a business reason behind. And this gives us another layer to have a good conversation in the project about, should we do this? Why are you extending? Aren't you trying to build your old legacy application again? How can you better apply? And this is just an additional layer within the solution architect to think about and to use as well. And
So one of the other ways that we see, FastTrack team, we touch all of these customers, and so we get to see the good and the bad. We get to see the good and the bad. And one of the areas where there's a lot of flexibility in the solution is around integration. Unfortunately, it's kind of that, with great power comes great responsibility thing. And so if you do it wrong, integrations can go really bad, right? You have to be smart about how you're doing it. So are there certain best practices and patterns that you think about when you're creating integration solutions around F&O?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I think you need to start with separating that you have the data management or the data integration framework within F&O. That's basically data management package, IPA. We have OData API, we have retail server API, and business events, and so on. That's kind of the capabilities within the F&O framework. And then we need to look at the integration landscape. That's basically how you transport messages from F&O to external third-party applications. And especially looking at the integration landscape, we see a huge variety of integration platforms and services being used throughout our current project. So taking a few examples from our current project, which is ongoing. We have projects where we have F&O working together with an Azure Service Fabric cluster building microservices. We have F&O working together with BizTalk 2016 integration platform. We have F&O together with Logic Apps. We have F&O together with ISV solution, kind of connectivity studio solutions where you're more from a citizen app user can model your integration. So just taking those examples. And yeah, by the way, we have a fifth one, which is F&O together with IBM Integration Bus, also in an ongoing project. So that just gives an example of the vast amount of options available on the market. And here it's usually a challenge because the customer obviously have certain legacy. They have invested in platforms and knowledge and training staff that you need to take into considerations. But also they are going from legacy applications, usually on-prem. They want to do the lift and shift up to the cloud. So they obviously want to take advantage of all the new capabilities coming with the cloud and also related to integration. So I mean, it's a complex area, and it's not one solution that is best, that fits for all customers. So I think in the end, a good recommendation from a system integrator.
So let me stop you.
Yeah.
So we say there isn't one solution that works for everything. So
No.
you're saying then that OData shouldn't just be used across the board for everything.
That should be probably be used as little as possible.
Right.
No, but
Yeah.
it certain fits for some patterns,
Yeah.
obviously. But typically, data management package API is
A little bit faster.
yeah.
And it
You
also-
used- yeah, go ahead.
So it all starts with the data entities, and it's also kind of split of job and split of involvement. We now say our Dynamics developers, our teams focus on creating the right data entities, and our rule of thumb is that the data entities should work exactly the same, independent of how you use them, so that you provide that flexibility using our data or using DMF or whatever. So we always try to go for those data entities, and then you can start using Azure integration services, but that's also using complete separate teams that are highly experienced in API management and how to apply that and how to ensure security and so on. And then really you take that responsibility to that integration layer, as you say. And one important thing there, and I would like to ask the public as well, is I'm curious how many people are using Microsoft Flow at this moment for integrations?
Wow, just a couple.
How many are using Logic Apps? Okay. Well, my advice would be to those working with Flow, move to Logic Apps. It's very simple, and it's one of the things that is highly discussed here. Flow is getting a lot of attention. It's a great tool. It's not a tool for enterprise integrations. And everything you can do with Flow, and that is presented here, like AI Builder, and all the cool integrations are also possible with Azure Logic App, but that gives you the additional step of maintaining it, building it, deploying it via Visual Studio, security appliance, and so on. So it's the same engine, it's the same cool things that are introduced here, but indeed using the Logic App behind gives you that additional level of ability to integrate and so on. So it's a great step forward for us. Logic App and Azure Integration Service is the default for integrating, but we do not allow within Avanade to do enterprise integrations with Flow. That's just very important.
Safe to say though, guys, just arriving at one approach or figuring out one approach and deciding that that's going to be your go-to thing across the board would be fairly dangerous, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it comes down to you need to work with a set of key questions that will probably lead you to a certain choice that that you think is the best for the customer at that given situation, I would say.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You guess, so a lot of this applies to data migration as well, same sort of things, right?
Yeah. So first of all, data migrations, if you go back to prior versions, it was like every project or every partner had to invest. Like, how many of you remember migrating customers when global address book was introduced? Right? So having so many data entities that are shipped out of the box, that takes care of good portion of data migration framework and something you can use readily. We have, like, 2 weeks ago, we had a CRP on a project. It was 5 weeks into the project, and we had real data that was shown to the customer. We had their customers loaded, vendors, all kind of stuff, and then we showed them their own financial statements, and CEO was like, when can I have it in production? Because they wanted to see same financial statements.
2 years later.
And they are going live just with financials soon. So the thing is, with all the data entities which are out there, and if you use them right in terms of like using a set-based and then doing the parallel processing, you can achieve data migration in a lot faster way. There are definitely a few things you should plan ahead from environments perspective, how many environments you need. Also, given that there is support, doesn't mean you should just try to migrate everything. Like if you have 2012 environment which has a lot of, or any other environment you're coming from has a lot of data, there's no need to migrate that data. It's just use it in a data warehouse and look at how do you reduce migration, because every single record you migrate is going to come with cost. The best or the laziest approach I usually take is spend more time in convincing and making sure we right-size the data migration upfront than doing the lot of busy work on trying to import all the records from the previous system. There are a few other techniques as well in terms of verifying multiple rounds of migrated data, doing things in parallel, like this can go sooner, also defining things that can go to production sooner. It also, all of this also supports your strategy for taking the configurations from one environment to another. That is really important because from golden configuration perspective, and when you talk about larger projects where you have a ton of different environments where you're doing different testing, it's very hard to keep them in sync from the configuration. How do you start with the same configurations every round of testing? So these tools are really helpful in terms of getting the project overall project timeline reduced if you use them right.
Yeah, you know, everything that we've just been talking about, if you screw it up, you make bad decisions, it ultimately winds up performance problems. That's where the payoff on doing the right data migration, on making the right decisions on integration is good performance. And I think that catches some people off guard because they say, I'm moving to the cloud. I have ultimate scalability in the cloud. That's almost true. We're not worried about the cloud scaling. It'll scale fine. What you put in the cloud might not, right? So, so there are thoughts that go into performance, even in a cloud solution. What do you do as a solution architect to make sure that the cloud doesn't get tipped over by an unscalable solution?
Yeah, so, I mean, I can talk a long time about performance, but I just want to raise like 3 key points here, 3 guidelines based on my experience. And when we talk about performance and F&O, and then first of all, I mean, start planning for performance early in the project, and already in the analysis or, typically in the analysis phase, and that comes down to identifying candidates for performance testing based on the customer way of working. Work together with the customer to identify peak volumes. Also create a day-in-life scenarios that you can use later on for performance testing, but because that actually captures the real scenario that you will get into when you're live. And then also work together with the customer to fill in this subscription estimator and ensure that you capture the peak volumes there. It's typically hour volumes that is wanted there. So that would be the busiest day of the year and the busiest hour of that year. So that would be the first point. Yeah.
Times 2, I always.
Yeah. And I mean, secondly, going forward to design and development, also have performance in mind there. I mean, talking about coming back to integrations again, I mean, you need to really go through all the integration messages from a performance perspective, deciding which tool and which API that is best suited from a performance perspective. And then thirdly, do the performance testing in an environment which is suited for performance testing, right? So typically the UAT environment that is part of the subscription license, I mean, it's a tier 2 environment. Typically it's not similar like the customer production environment. It wouldn't make sense to do the performance testing in that environment. Usually from my perspective, we are conducting most of our performance testing in a separate tier 4 or tier 5 environment. Obviously, that depends on the volumes of the customer, but I mean, Microsoft offers some guidance on which environment is suitable. So not talking too much about this topic, but I still think those 3 guidelines could be applicable to, I mean, all implementation projects.
So for the audience, what does a performance test look like? Because I've seen a variety of approaches. I've seen some where it's actually, I don't think it's even a full line on the project plan. It's sort of written in between two lines, like for the evening between code complete and UAT, I'm going to do a performance test. When you think about structuring a performance test, is that good enough, or usually a little bit more complex than that?
Typically a little bit more complex, I would
figured,
say. But I mean, it's key comes down to, I mean, identifying the key candidates for performance testing based on how the customer works. And then it could be, for example, performing the creation updates of sales orders. And there you could use, for example, the Perf SDK to simulate multiple users, creating those sales orders and doing the updates, and then kind of simulating how the environment behaves under that. Cool.
Something that you have to think about. One of the other things you got to think about, not only during the implementation, but post go live, right? In a cloud world, we've moved into now a managed, a SaaS solution, right? But there's still a lot of things that customers require in terms of support. So how are your organizations sort of lining up to provide support to customers? What does support look like in your world?
Well, I think it's like with everything that you do in a project, an ERP project like performance, you have to start the very first day thinking about how you will do support, how you will continue helping the customer. And support really has changed for partners. In the past, support was often focused on infrastructure, maintaining infrastructure, supporting the SQL server, supporting the performance management, and so on. That part is now in the cloud. But it gives the ability still for partners to help the customer to continue and have continuous development, introduce new functionality, but also keeping track of the telemetry, still solving performance issues, improving issues, solving issues, improving code, and so on, is still something that is very relevant. And for me, an implementation is just the start of a journey. If you're live, then most probably you had quite a journey already, because going live is always a challenge, but then it starts. Then you need to get that added value of the system, because often people will not go live with a project immediately having all the nice analytical reports and all the tooling, and really using that added value of what Dynamics and the Power Platform in general can bring. And for that, I think that's one of the key things that you should introduce. Don't wait when you're live, say, oh, we're live, that's it. No, think about how you can continue that story and how you can build the solution together. And don't worry if you go live and you think, hey, where are all those cool things? But ensure that you include it in your investment as a customer also, and as a partner, discuss it with your customer, that when you go live, it's just a start. It's, that's the first year of a lifetime, and then the real fun starts.
Right. You hit on phase 2 reporting, right? So as you probably noticed by the session catalog and just walking around here, Microsoft is fairly enamored with, fairly interested in intelligent solutions. Everything we built has got an artificially intelligent bot and a dashboard that comes with it, right? So there's a lot of tools that are built into the products. But one of the big conversations in ERP implementations like this is oftentimes customers are trying to do stuff that's not just F&O. They're trying to connect their reporting or intelligence solutions to larger enterprise solutions, things that are going to be external to their solution. How are you dealing with those?
So this is the area. Fortunately, we have had a lot of exposure through mergers and acquisition engagements we worked on. Data migration, and this one goes hand in hand early on, where we try to reduce load on the migrating data by having better BI strategy, having all the data available from reporting standpoint, so that there are no reports that are going after only the migrated or the data in F&O versus the data for historical. Having a place where you truly look at all the aspects you need to run the business is very important. Resourcing in this area is shifted a bit in terms of we need to utilize all the investments Microsoft has been making in Power BI and analytics platform. And it's not just Dynamics developer who is involved in making this. Like we had a requirement for a customer who needed BOM rollup for 7 levels and wanted to see those to compare between different vendors who is giving better price. Of course, when only Dynamics developer was involved, he came up with solution, oh, we'll run the batch job and it will calculate 7 levels and keep it there and then we'll show it. Then it was like job that will have to be run every 15 minutes and you'll still be 15 minutes late on the data. And amount of processing was, while when you take the BYOD approach, like take the data to BYOD and then use the Power BI and the power of Power BI, it's meant for those dynamic reporting requirements. That's where you can utilize all the in-memory storage and then doing those kind of things instead of having stuck into the rigid report format, you have flexibility of having those different dynamic reports. So the key takeaway there is making sure you have right resources engaged and you are leveraging the investments to take the data out to BYOD or to Azure Data Lake and then using Power BI and other tools that are out there, which Microsoft has invested in to do the reporting strategy. And then it also helps you bring the data from other systems in your enterprise ecosystem, not just the FNO.
So data lakes, you brought up data lakes. So I'm assuming you guys are in the insider programs. Where are you going with data lakes?
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned bring your own database, but data lake I think is really going to add value because in the past, for example, if you wanted to report on entity stores, you needed the developer who has access to a database, you needed to deploy the reports via LCS and so on and so on. With data lake, the information is really opened up. It's more flexible, easier to combine, I think less expensive than bring your own database. So I really see future there. Also, the sessions here on CDS and CDM that can integrate to the data lake, the common data model that has been introduced by Microsoft together with Adobe, with SAP. So it's really adding value there. It's now still in preview. It's playing around. There will be a new connector soon for the next generation of data lake so that we can really connect fully from finance and operations using the data flows to Power BI. Currently, there's one manual step in between that we have to do, but that will be released very soon. And that's again also, of course, a benefit of working with the FastTrack team, working closely with Microsoft, that as architects we can see what the future is, we can see how we can use that and apply it early, and also integrate it in our architecture. So ADL, Azure Data Lake, will be the default way of reporting and enabling access to your data, I think. So
you mentioned sort of getting this data out and opening it up to a larger set of tools. One of those sets of tools is obviously the Power Platform. We talked a little bit about Power BI. Obviously, Power Apps is a big piece of this. How are you thinking about that? What, as a solution architect, how are you thinking about those tools? Are they sort of first-class citizens today in the solutions you're putting together?
They should be, they must be. So what we say within every implementation, every solutioning we do, we consider CDS, we consider CDM, we consider the use of Power Apps. So in implementations, we're using Power Apps now for mobile applications, for example. A couple of projects we're working on that. It's still, of course, looking at the level of maturity compared to the complexity of ERP projects. The demos are marvelous to see, but once you need to get that data out from F&O and have it integrated and so on, that's something that you each time have to consider. But it's something that you can no longer ignore and should definitely not ignore, because it's really giving power, not only to business users that can use the data, but also in development and as a partner deploying tools. Those tools should be on your agenda each and every time. And each and every time you should check what is the current state of technology. Can I use it? How can I use it? How should I apply? But also be realistic sometimes to say, okay, this might just be one step too early. but then keep an eye on it and think about in your architecture that if you cannot use it now, that you are going to introduce in a later phase, so that you keep track of that and keep that in mind when you design things.
I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Is as the new tools come out, we all know, right? There's probably 2 tools that were released while we're sitting here, right? So it's coming fast and furious. And I think as an architect, you have to kind of keep an eye on these new tools. You probably shouldn't blindly just go, hey, I just read about that, I'll put it in my next solution. I think it's incumbent on us to understand what they really can do, where they're going, keep in mind where they're going, what they can, what they can't do, right? So we're making realistic solutions. So the other thing I think that I'd like to get you guys' perspective on, because I see this as a big gap in a lot of projects. We've got some amazing tools, and one in particular is DevOps. And what we see in a lot of projects, to be honest, across the board, none of these guys' projects, but what we see a lot is there's some project plan up here, 100-line project plan way up there. And then we've got DevOps being used for source control, and there's nothing in between. It's just chaos in between. Do you use DevOps to control workflow, task workflow management? How do you use tools like that in your projects to control the chaos, right?
Yeah, so we see Azure DevOps as a possibility to track the progress of our projects. And an example there is that, for example, we have created our business process modeling process framework in LCS. Based on our experience, we have defined those tailored to certain industries. Using BPM, we can document customer requirements, fit and gaps, and then use the synchronization to get it over to Azure DevOps. Utilizing this way of working, we have a kind of a red line between the processes all the way to what we're supposed to configure and develop in the system. And we can also continue working in DevOps to split that work into different sprints, assign it to different users, and really use the rich capabilities built into DevOps and also Power BI and capabilities supported to really track the progress of the project. And making it even more powerful is also incorporating the testing into Azure DevOps. Because when you have everything from the processes, requirement, fit and gaps, all the way to the testing, and you have a red line through all this, you really have transparency, and you really can argue your case whether you have completed your project or how much you have left. So basically, yeah. We see
all that tracking, all of that tracking, all the information you write down and record in DevOps, right? Doesn't that sort of blow Agile? Because we all know Agile means I'm not going to write down any requirements or keep track of any information about my project, right? So can you still do all that and still have a Agile implementation? Does it still work?
So Agile, from my perspective, it's a bit scary word, because there's always someone in the crowd that is an Agile Scrum Master that will ask those tricky questions. But I mean, still, we see from an experience perspective, I mean, we nowadays work a lot more sprint-based. And especially throughout design and development, to really get the solution in front of the customer earlier, and that's to really ensure that we can work according to standard and that we avoid misunderstandings in terms of what we're supposed to deliver and what the customer expects that we're supposed to deliver. So from that perspective, I mean, we certainly use a lot more Agile from that perspective, that we work with sprints nowadays and deliver according to those sprints, and using DevOps to kind of track our work.
You see similar approaches on your side? Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm out of the softball questions. So we haven't. No one's. Are we at time?
Don't want to say anything about.
Yeah, we got through the whole. We got through the whole time without having to actually take any tough questions. So what we will do, so because we probably have someone angry outside the door, we'll hang around here for just.
We have 5 minutes.
Oh, we do have time?
We have 5.
Oh, I blew it. Let me see if I got one more. Okay. Does anybody have a question? Go ahead.
His chair is our chair.
Back in the 2012 days, architecture, D365, it was functionality, you had to worry about the AOS. It was fairly straightforward. It's changed. It's getting bigger, you're getting Power BI, you're getting all these solutions. What is your personal strategy to stay up to date? Because you're working 100 hours a week on customer projects. Stay up to date. Any tips for us guys?
How do you only work 100 hours? That's the first question.
I work 4 days a week only, so yeah. And well, I think one of the tips that I also give to colleagues, for example, on a summit like this, is don't go to the sessions where you're familiar with. Find out other sessions. Go to sessions where you're less familiar. I went to sessions around CDS, Power BI, but also around Forms Pro, just to understand what is happening around AI Builder. So it's keep the eyes open what is happening and use the community. Within Avanade, we've got a big worldwide community. We've got people who are specialized on areas. They share the knowledge. They give updates to all the architects how it works. But of course, if you don't have that as a smaller company, use the communities to learn and to understand, and reserve time for yourself to invest in just doing deep dive on new functionality, because you might not immediately earn that money back because you're not on a project, but at the same time you will remain so valuable over time to be able to keep up to date, because it can be a tough job. It's not only understanding Dynamics 365, it's understanding Azure, it's understanding Office, Windows, Power Platform. Then in the plane I watched a great series around artificial intelligence just to understand how that works and just to keep yourself up to date on what's happening there. So keep investing in yourself, and that's at the end more valuable than spending 100 hours on a project, and explain it to your customer as well.
If you don't, you wind up being the guy in the end that's asking the questions. So yeah, you should definitely keep. Other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you need to have an interest to put down the time that's necessary to keep up to date. I mean, it's hard. For me, I have 2 hours travel each day. I don't know if that's a good tips, but I certainly have time there to invest in knowledge. But I think also if you're within a kind of bigger system integrator organization, I mean, you should work with your team, use center of excellence, or I mean other practices to kind of help out to raise the bar from a knowledge perspective. That's also one way to help out, and social media as well.
So we do have Real Dynamics University concept. So say when RSAT came out, we had certain individuals that were dedicated just to go through it, and then they came back, and in one of like every month we have a session. We have somebody who spend the time on the tool to get everybody else up to speed, so that there is good way of knowledge sharing. There is almost impossible for any individual to stay up to date on everything that's happening. So try to kind of team up with different folk, and then, as I mentioned, like getting right people on the project. So you know that there are some challenging reporting requirements. Make sure you get the Power BI person and try to understand what's possible, what's not possible, so you can architect the solution based on that. At least knowing it at 30,000 feet on everything else is important, while you may know a lot deeper on what's exactly just.
If you haven't seen it either, if you haven't been to one, I would suggest looking for our Solution Architecture Bootcamp series. What we're trying to do there is really sort of give architects a broad view, right? So at sort of a pattern level, so it's less deep dives, right? It's not how to build this or how to build that, but where does this fit into a solution? Those kinds of things at an architect level, understanding what's going to work and what's not. Go ahead. Yeah, thank you. The question is the FastTrack Recognized Solution Architecture program and the Solution Architecture Bootcamp only available for partners at this point? The answer, unfortunately, is yes. There's some reasons behind this. So the FastTrack Recognized Solution Architecture program is sort of is sort of to be there to badge architects and so that customers can kind of understand who they're working with and that level of expertise. The SA Bootcamp, I've got Chante looking at me going, be very careful what you say right now. So I will be very careful. It's possible that the Bootcamp material, we may start moving we are going to start moving some of that to a video delivery or sort of an online delivery. At some point, we might be able to open that up for customers to come to the boot camps, but right now, we've had really, really high demand for partners to the point where we have to sort of qualify people into those workshops. So, and obviously, training partners it gives us the biggest broadcast effect because they can go out and work with multiple customers. So at some point, maybe, but not right now. Over here.
So may I answer?
Yeah, go
so
for it.
the question is, would you advise against customizations in a cloud environment? The answer is no. The only thing, there's also always seem to be two types. You should never customize or we just build everything we want. I think that's both not true. It's in the middle. Customization is not something that you should be afraid of as long as it has a good business reason. And as long as it's done in the right way with what we discussed with extension and so on. If you have a process where you have 20 people working on sales orders, handling 100 sales orders per day, and they need to go through 6 screens every time, I would invest in a small investment on making that easier, that process, or maybe even automate things, because then it's adding value. Too often I hear questions about, well, they don't say it like that, but rebuild my legacy application. And then my answer is very clearly no. And I still have the feeling as a solution architect that even if the customer asks, I am the final guy telling you if we're going to customize or not. So I will always have that challenge with the customer. Should you do it? Did you consider this? Did you look at the best practices? Did you look at the alternatives? But then if we do that and it is adding value, I'm not afraid of customizing then.
So I also go with 3 simple guidelines based on that. First of all, is it possible to challenge the customer, change way of working? That might fit in some cases. Secondly, are there any available ISV solutions that could bridge this gap? Or could we use Power Apps or another service that is more suitable? And thirdly, is the customization providing real business value to the customer? Then I don't see any problem with making the extension.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look, as soon as you start customizing, you're now getting into the software business, right? So you have to own that. So even if it's a good extension, it's easily upgradable, those kinds of things. If you're building it yourself, you're owning that IP, you're the only one that's going to move that IP forward in the future, right? That's going to extend it. Whereas if you get a chance, you can tag onto an ISV, you can use something from Microsoft that's a kernel of what you want that'll grow over time. There's going to be long-term business value. But if it comes down to, hey, it's just something I need to do, there's business value, even from the Microsoft side, we'd say, yeah, that's why we put the flexibility in the platform. What, right here?
Take it afterwards.
So we just keep going until the people with security on the T-shirts come in? We'll keep going. All right, so go ahead.
Enough people to get us out of
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
One is not enough.
They better come with more than one. So, yeah, all right.
We can take that question afterwards.
So there are, on the FastTrack nomination portal, there is a list of benefits you get. Of course, the best thing with this recognition is things you have been doing in the field. There is definitely pat on the back that you have been doing right things, and that encourages and to do more. That is definitely the key takeaway. Of course, then officially there is no different hotline that a FastTrack architect can call, but of course then with the recognition you have better visibility and you can have.
Yeah, they get my cell phone.
Amongst many other members.
So we look to collaborate with these guys because it adds scale to us, right? So there will be, and keep in mind the program is relatively new, but I fully expect as we're moving forward, over the coming year, we'll be on regular touch points because these guys all have multiple projects going. So by working with them, we can get scale inside of what we're doing. So if I have something important to tell, I'm going to tell these guys first. They're active inside their organizations. They're also active in the community outside their organization. So there's value in spreading good information through that. How it differs from the MVP? So part of the key difference is this. So you get here by working with a FastTrack architect. So this is a person from Microsoft that's actually witnessing how you're interacting, how you're behaving in the field, that impact on a project. Whereas MVP has some different criteria. There's great things about being an MVP. A lot of it's community involvement and those sorts of things. What we're really looking for here is the people that are really doing the right things in the customer delivery. So I would say that's probably the key differentiator, which I don't think MVP, because there's no MVP SA team that's out working with you at customer sites, there's a lack of visibility there. Yep. So I'll say this, I'll answer quick. If we're doing our job and things that would break task guides get put behind feature management, they shouldn't interfere. But what do you guys think?
At the very first moment of your project, really don't wait for it. As said, if we use it at least, and that's the latest moment to have it, is in the handover if we have designed a process, for example, or if we are delivering. We are not delivering to a customer not using a task guide, but already you should start planning first in the design and analyze phase. You start thinking about your BPM structure, of course, first. You think about what structures we can reuse that exist already. We've got our own Avanade libraries for that, but Microsoft has libraries. And then you extend the ones that are very specific for a customer. But start with it on day one. As many things on day one, it's a busy day.
Yeah, so the question is, when do you do performance testing?
From the very first moment.
So performance testing, of course, you have to, so from planning perspective, you have to identify the most critical block along with the design. Performance testing, you'll have to do, you need to have all the data migrated, first of all. You don't want to do it in blank environment. So for that, you're somewhat dependent on having data migration completed, somewhat dependent on having your extensions ready, because you don't want to do it only on the standard environment. Microsoft has already done some part of it. So you do want to do that once you have these things, but you do want to work towards it from day one to make sure you're preparing for it.
An easy answer would be, it's part of the UAT. You have to done all your work with building the integration and the customizations and putting all the data in the right environment and so on. It wouldn't make sense to do it earlier because then it's not a realistic test going forward to production. So.
Well, but you would do it during development. There are different type of performance tests. There's a very good reason that in a debug environment you see a performance counter. So our developers, from the very first moment they touch code, they should do performance testing in a different way. But you're not testing with one record. You're not testing with 10 records. If you know that it will handle 10,000 records, of course, it's not a tier 3 or 4 environment, so you cannot test with the actual amount, but you will test with a good representative set of data. You will register what is the performance monitoring, what should I improve, is everything already acting as it should on a development machine. So for me, that's already the moment that it starts.
When you're building that interface that's going to bring in 1 million lines an hour, you should be performance testing there, but you shouldn't do a performance test there and say it works, I'm good. Because when you get to UAT, it could be that that thing running by itself will work just fine, but as soon as one person opens up one form that blocks that, it dies, right? So early and often, I think, is kind of the answer, right? So start with that performance testing engineering in mind, but you have to build to what we call that day in a life, right?
Yeah,
that day in a life test, which is
that's
going to
kind of key.
happen.
Yeah.
If your solution's not done, you can't really do that. So that's really your first opportunity is going to be in UAT to do that full all-up test. Did you say, do I have any room on the team? Because I actually do. I wasn't supposed to be recruiting up here, but I do have room. No, sorry. How many people? So we've actually got on my team. So I'm what we call core FastTrack. So my team covers customers that are 150 seats or more, and non-retail. So we've got a separate team of about 10 people around the world that focus on retail accounts. We have a few retail in my group, but we're mostly non-retail, and I've got about 20 folks spread around the globe. So all up, we've got another technical specialist team, about 30 to 40 people that are out actually working with customers.
We have our own industry-specific solutions for that. They're based on the standard BPM, but they're really extended for retail or for manufacturing. And that's what you use as a standard, and then you extend further. But all our processes, implementation maps come with documentations, comes with all those processes already ready when you start the project.
Right here?
For enterprise
For
integrations.
integrations.
It can be for some other business events. If you have an integration that is key to your environment, so your environment depends on it, imports of sales orders and so on, and whatsoever, then don't rely on Flow. Rely on the technology, but using Logic App. If you use it for non-business critical things, then it's fine. Then you can use Flow. Business critical is Logic App.
Yeah, I also was at a session previously where they talked about Azure integration services, and that was kind of the answer to the same question there, that which one should I use? And the answer was use both, but you need to understand which one to use when, and that kind of gets back to your question there again. But they show that there are quite good documentation explaining like when should you typically use.
And it's good if you start with Flow. So imagine that you're working on new integration. You think this makes sense, but I want to really make it managed and ensure that it's released and ensure that not someone is changing it. You can use that Flow template as a starting point for Logic App. But then again, you have to think about how you build integrations with Logic Apps. Is somewhat different and more complex than the nicely shown demos here, because we split up tasks to improve reliability. So there's a complete architecture behind. But you can start with Flow and then continue in Logic App. As soon as you feel business critical, we need to monitor. Monitoring is something. Release management is something. I think those are the key things. Performance, those are the key triggers to go to Logic App.
All right, guys, we probably got to wrap it up. Thanks a lot for coming. I appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.